In my last video, I went over the multiplication of whole numbers, went over the procedure and why it works the way it does. In this case, we'll look at multiplication of decimals or decimal fractions. As a review of what we did last time, here are some of the things I went over. Basic facts concerning powers of 10. 10 to the 0 is 1, 10 to the 1 is 10, 10 to the second power is 100, and so on. If you have 10 to the negative 1, it's 1 over 10. 10 to the negative 2 is 1 over 100, and so forth. I also wanted to review some basic ideas that you should know. If you have, say, 23.5 times 10 to the negative 1, that's the same thing as multiplying that 23.5 by 1 over 10, which is the same thing as 23.5 divided by 10. So that comes out to 2.35. Okay, doing the division, multiplying by 10 to the negative 2. You can see the setup there, gives me 0.235. You multiply that same number, 23.5 to the 10 to the negative 3, you get 0.0235. So in other words, when you multiply by powers of 10, as we saw in the last video, you move the decimal to the right, depending on the powers. So 10 to the first moves the decimal 1 to the right, 10 to the 2 moves it to the right 2 times, and so on. If the power is negative, it's just the other way around, moves it to the left. So you can see the examples here. Multiplying by power of 10 to the negative 1, which is the same thing as dividing by 10, moves the decimal to the right. To the left 1 time. Multiplying by 10 to the negative 2 moves it to the left 2 times. By 10 to the negative 3 to the left 3 times, and so forth. We also went over how to express a number in expanded form using the powers of 10. So that we have 325.146. You can see the expansion of that. Talking about place value, and that's the reason the multiplication of whole numbers or decimal numbers works the way it does, is because of the situation with place value. 2.3. So in the last video, I went over why we multiply the way we do. So in other words, if we have 325,146 multiplied by 23, we looked at why we arrange it the way that we do. Okay, we have to set it up so we have the same place value lined up here. Okay. In this video, I want to go into the decimals. Okay, so let's suppose we're multiplying 3.25.146 times 2.3. Okay, the rule that you're familiar with is you ignore the decimal places. Okay, so you set it up this way, and they tell you to ignore the decimal places and just multiply the numbers. Okay, and then count the number of decimal places. So we have, the first one has 3 places, 1, 2, 3. The second one has 2 places, 1 to the right of the decimal. We add those up, that gives us 4, and then they tell us to move the decimal over. Okay, here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the decimal would be right there. Okay. We put a decimal right here. Okay. So that's the rule we go by when you're multiplying decimal numbers. This is ignore the decimal place, multiply the numbers, and then count the number of decimal places, and then move the decimal point to the left that many times. And the reason it works that way is because, let me rewrite this, 325, 146 times 10 to the negative 3. Okay, and then the other one is 10.3 times, or I should say, is 23 times 10 to the negative 1. Okay, now if we multiply this out, the 23 would multiply the 325, 146, and then these two multiply each other, and that would give me 10 to the negative 4. Okay, and that's why we get what we get over here. We multiply the 23 and the 325,146, and we get this answer right here. And then we move the decimal over 4 places, and the answer comes out to 747.8358. And that's the way. That's the reason that we perform this type of procedure with decimals and why it works. Okay, so hope this makes sense, and we'll see you in the next video.